Hey Rock Buds, this is Rock Papa. Happy greetings to you wherever you are in the world. I hope you're doing great. Today I thought we'd venture into a study of the Sierra Nevada mountains of California. A pretty complex topic, but I've tried to cover it in an organized manner that will make sense to you. We're going to take a look at some of the mountain building events or orogenies that help shape the Sierra Nevada mountains. We'll talk about what the Sierra Nevada mountains are made of today, and we'll look at a few details like the Malone Fault Zone and also gold, California gold. And we'll be touching on the extension of the Basin and Range province and see what its role was in the shaping of the Sierra Nevada mountains and the Wasatch Mountains, and everything in between. So hopefully this video will be helpful to you, so please subscribe. Thank you so much to all you wonderful guys and gals that have subscribed. I appreciate you a lot often. So here we go, the Sierra Nevada mountains. Before we move on, let's just have a nice little slideshow to get us in the mood, the Sierra Nevada mood. Hey Rock Buds, a lot of the images that I'll be using in this video came from a great guy by the name of Dr. Frank L. DeCourton. And they came from his excellent book, The Broken Land, which tells you all about the Basin and Range province as well as the Sierra Nevada mountains. I'll also be providing some information and images from this excellent, though older book. That $3.99 price tag up there shows you how long I have had and loved this book. Let's begin by looking at the west coast of North America before any orogenies or mountain building events occurred. You can see that the western edge of the land went through what is now western Utah and western Arizona. And where eastern Nevada and southern California are now located was the shallow continental shelf. And the deep ocean basin covered western Nevada and that part of southern California north of where the continental shelf was. The 5 orogenies that followed this time would build out the rest of the western edge of the continent. Okay, so the first orogeny or mountain building event that contributed to the Sierra Nevada mountains was the Antler Orogy, which happened about 360 million years ago. For this orogeny, Dr. DeCourton and others postulate a volcanic island chain over an east-dipping subduction zone that created a back arc basin, as we see in number 1. In number 2, that whole package is smashed up against the western edge of North America. Most geologists believe that during the Antler Orogeny, the deep ocean basin was shoved up on top of the continental shelf, resulting in this big long snake of sediments that formed the Roberts Mountains in Nevada. Notice that this material extends down into what will become California, and this Antler Orogeny material will be incorporated into the Sierra Nevada mountains, as we shall see. This package includes passive margin sediments, it includes ocean crust, as well as volcanic island arc material. Next, we'll have a look at the Sonoma Orogy, which happened about 250 million years ago. And a special note here that this orogeny did not contribute material to the Sierra Nevada mountains, but I'd like to look at it anyway. Most geologists believe that the Sonoma Orogy involved a microcontinent, the Sonoma microcontinent, that developed over a west-dipping subduction zone, as we see in number 1. This whole package of rocks, which was similar to the Antler rocks, smashed onto the continent and is most evident in what is called the Golconda thrust sheet. But notice here that the Golconda thrust sheet did not come anywhere near where the future Sierra Nevada mountains would be, so it did not contribute sediments to the mountains. And now we come to the main event, the Nevada Orogy, which began about 155 million years ago. The first thing that happened was the ancient Pacific Ocean plate subducted beneath the edge of the continent, creating a continental volcanic arc, underlain by huge granite, dendrite, plutons, the future core of the Sierra Nevada mountains. The black blob in number 1 shows that passive margin sediments and ocean crust were also shoved up on the edge of the continent. This whole package is called the Calaveras Complex. Next, a series of volcanic island chains approached and crashed into the western edge of the continent, bringing with them more passive margin sediments as well as serpentinite-rich ocean crust. All these crashed volcanic island chains are collectively called the Western Jurassic Terrane. Hey, rock buds, keep in mind that the Calaveras Complex and the Western Jurassic Terrane are old terms. I don't think they're used anymore, but since I'm old and those are the ones I learned, I'm going to present them to you. And once again, here's just a list of the rocks in each of these Nevada orogeny terranes that make up a huge portion of the Sierra Nevada mountains. And just to make the point, here are the actual rock names that are included in the Nevada orogeny package. Okay, rock buds, now let's just take a look at how the rocks of the Sierra Nevada mountains are arranged. And what you're going to see is a simplified version of that arrangement that I hope will simplify the thing and make it easier to understand. It helped me. Okay, guys, on this map, the pink rectangles represent where the Sierra Nevada granite batholith is located all up and down the state. And you can see that these rocks dominate the eastern part of the range and include Yosemite National Park, Kings Canyon National Park, and Sequoia National Park. The purple rectangle represents the Antler Orogy rocks, and they are found mostly in the northern part of the Sierra Nevada range, generally west of the batholith, but there are bits and snatches of Antler Orogy rocks mixed in with the batholith in the north, and geologists call these roof pendants. The orange rectangle represents the Nevada Orogy rocks, which would include the Calaveras Complex along the eastern edge of this batch of rocks, and then the Western Jurassic Terrane along the western edge of this batch of rocks. And some interesting things to note here. North of the green line on the map, you can see the red square, and that represents the Klamath Mountain Range, which is essentially a piece of the Sierra Nevada mountains that broke loose and moved west during the Nevada Orogy. It actually shoved about 60 miles west. And just east of the Klamath Mountains, you have the Cascade Range, a whole different range from the Sierra Nevada range, a range of active volcanoes. The Cascades run all the way up the west coast into Canada. The yellow line on this map represents Highway 50 that cuts across from east to west, and you'll notice that Antler Orogy rocks don't generally extend south of this line. Also south of the Highway 50 yellow line, the Sierra Nevada batholith makes up a much larger portion of the range down here than to the north of the line. Hey guys, so what are roof pendants? The roof pendants in the central and southern part of the Sierra Nevada mountain range are mostly made of Calaveras terrain or complex rocks. These rocks were laid down on top of the batholith rocks, and when the batholith rocks were thrust up, bits and pieces of the Calaveras complex were caught up between the various plutons that make up the batholith. On this map, the white line traces out Highway 50, and the long vertical red line represents the Malone Fault Zone. North of Highway 50, the Malone Fault Zone separates the Antler Orogy rocks on the right or east from the Nevada Orogy rocks on the west. And south of Highway 50, the Malone Fault Zone separates the Calaveras Complex rocks on the east from the Western Jurassic Terrane rocks on the west, both of which are Nevada Orogy rocks. And south of Highway 50 is where the Sierra Nevada mountains are mostly made of the granite and diorite batholith rocks with Calaveras Complex roof pendants there. Picture a large bag of marshmallows representing the granite and diorite plutons that come together to make the batholith, and then somebody has sprinkled cinnamon on top that's gotten down in the kind of the spaces between the pluton bulges, with the cinnamon representing the Calaveras roof pendants. Yum! The Malone Fault Zone has confused geologists for a long time, and they still don't know exactly what it's all about, although there are theories. So here's what we know. It is a right lateral strike slip fault, which means you stand beside the fault, stick your right arm out, and that is how the opposite side is sliding. You can do this on either side. Bottom line, it means that the material on the left or west side of the fault is moving north relative to the stuff on the right side of the fault. The implication here is that a lot of the material on the left or west side of the fault started out its existence far south of where it is now, and it slid up to its present location. My take is that the Malone Fault Zone is a lot like the Brevard Fault Zone in the east, and this strike-slip sliding motion is a regular part of the process of putting together a continent. California produced millions, maybe billions of dollars worth of gold. Geologists are pretty certain this gold originated during the Nevada Orogy, possibly associated with the continental volcanic arc that produced all the granite and diorite plutons, or either in back arc basin ocean crust, where volcanic activity flushed gold into this material, very similar to how the Dahlonega, Georgia gold belt was formed. We do know that most of the California gold was found in the northern Sierra Nevada mountains, just on the west side of the Malone Fault Zone. Hey rock buds, here's a surprise. After the Antler Orogy and the Nevada Orogy had come and gone, we still did not have the Sierra Nevada mountains. So let's take a look at the cataclysmic events that raised these mighty mountains up and made them the wonderful, beautiful range of light, as John Muir called it. In this picture, the black arrow on the right represents the San Andreas Fault. The San Andreas Fault developed about 30 million years ago. The crust material on the left or west side of the fault is moving north relative to the material on the right side of the fault. This makes the San Andreas Fault also a right lateral strike-slip fault. 30 million years ago, Nevada and the Basin and Range province did not exist. Then, around 17 million years ago, this strike-slip action of the San Andreas Fault began to pull the continent apart. As this part of the continent was stretched to nearly double its original size, huge cracks developed in the crust between what is now eastern California and western Utah. The cracks got wider and deeper, developing into block faults. Huge blocks of crust rotated up along these faults, forming mountains, with broad, flat valleys in between. In eastern California, the rotation of these blocks brought up all of the granite and diorite plutons of the Sierra Nevada batholith, turning them into the magnificent Sierra Nevada mountain range. That's why the eastern face of the Sierra Nevada range is so steep and abrupt. It is the actual face of the rotated block, while the more gently sloping west face of the Sierra Nevada mountains represents the top of that block. The Wasatch Mountains in Utah, about 400 miles to the east, represent the eastern side of this huge block faulted region. The Wasatch Mountains have their steep face on the west or left and their sloping face on the right or east, with all the mountain ranges and valleys in between representing the Basin and Range province of today. The White Mountains and the Inyo Mountains just east of the Sierras are also block faulted mountains that broke off from the Sierras sometime in the ancient past, with the Owens Valley developing in between. The Owens Valley is in fact a rift basin with all kind of rift-related volcanic activity going on, from basalt lava flows to huge piles of felsic tuff. Geologists tell us that as the San Andreas Fault continues to move and rifting continues to occur, a block of the Sierra Nevada mountains will detach itself, creating yet another range similar to the White and Inyo Mountains, and eventually the continent may actually rift apart in the Basin and Range province. Hey Rock Buds, so there you have it, the Sierra Nevada mountain range. I think in the future video I'll talk about the Yosemite Valley, Yosemite National Park, and how it relates to everything that we've talked about in this video. So thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if this was useful to you. And this here is your Rock Papa, saying to all my most excellent rock buds, happy rock hunting. Papa out.